Welcome back to the IU427 garage, everyone. Today we're working on a couple of things. I started off with the Le Mans cap modification, and if you're working on a Mark IV, this doesn't apply to you, but the Mark IIIs and before. There's some issues with the Mustang fuel cap and the Le Mans cap itself and the interference. Then I'm moving on to the windshield. I'm just getting the windshield in for now. I'm not getting it bolted tight, and I'm not getting it adjusted because we've still got the APE hardtop that Miller's working on, and that is going to actually determine our final angle on the windshield. So hang with us, and I'll bring you right back, and we'll take a look and see what we're working on. All right, I don't know if you guys can pick all this up, but this is all the brass shavings, the filings from the drill bit, from drilling the holes for the windshield. So I'll get to the windshield in just a second. We've got it in there. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting there. What I want to start with is the Le Mans cap. And as this was shipped from Factory 5, there is a spring behind this. And that bolt keeps that spring and everything together. The problem is that bolt right there, that head of that bolt, ends up hitting the top of our cap. Now, I wanted to wait to adjust any of this until I got the cap. The cap arrived yesterday. I did take the tether off of it. The stock Ford cap has a tether with a screw that will not fit in here, and so that had to be removed, and now we've got the cap in there. And we went with the actual Ford cap, and it does the click, 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 and it's nice and tight, so we shouldn't have any more fuel smell inside the shop. But what I did here is I pulled this bolt out, and then there is a metal sleeve behind it, and that just keeps this all centered when it does its springy thing. And I shortened the bolt, and I shortened the stem, the sleeve that was in there. And so now when we go ahead and close this, we have just enough tension that it locks. And the only difference is when you pull on the lock, it doesn't spring open like it normally would, because there's not as much tension on the spring. There's just enough tension on that spring now that it just pops it up a little bit, and you can open it up with your finger. So that part is done. The windshield is in, but it's only in loosely right now, meaning I don't even have the bolts on this side yet, so you can see it moves quite a bit. The other side I do have bolted in, and I'm going to probably get the bolts in on the passenger side here shortly. But you can see on this side, we had to take apart the... I'm looking for a flashlight. I know I had one here close. I don't know where I walked with it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, we had to take apart our headlight switch. So our headlight switch is just hanging here right now, and that's where we have our hazard light switch as well. This goes up inside, and we've got our fuse panel drop down as well. And that just provides access to get in, up in through here. Now, if I kind of sneak you in here, you can see one of the windshield bolts right there. And it's snug. It's not tight. It's just in there to kind of hold the windshield in place right now. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to actually adjust the windshield to the hardtop. And so I'd just as soon leave the windshield kind of loose for now so that we don't have to deal with having to loosen it up in order to fit the hardtop later. It's just in there now, and it's loose, and we'll put the hardtop in. And once we're sure we've got the windshield exactly where we want it, then we can tighten it up. So on the driver's side, you actually tighten the bolts from inside the driver's compartment up in through the bottom of the fuse panel. That's why I don't mount the fuse panel firm until after the windshield is done, because I know that I'm going to end up having to get in there and to screw the fuse panel in and unscrew it. Every time you got to get in there, it's just a nightmare. So I just leave that to one of the last things that I do. The passenger side is actually going to get the bolts are actually going to go in from the engine compartment. Now what I do is I actually send the bolts in through here. Now we've got our heater box right here, and so I'll reach in through the back of the heater box, or the side of the heater box, and then push the bolts through this way, and then I'll reach in through the side vent here and up next to the windshield, and I'll get the nuts and the washers on. All of our shimming, if we do any shimming at all, which we most likely will, we'll probably end up putting 2 flat washers on the in between the windshield post and the chassis. But it could be more, it could be less, but it's usually 2. We'll do all our shimming on this side because it's just easier to get to. Trying to shim the other side is just a nightmare because you're very limited space and it's hard to get in there. So we do all our shimming on this side, and that's it. So I'm going to work on getting those other 2 bolts at least in on this side, and then I'll bring you back. All right, music update. Allman Brothers, Ramblin' Man. Windshield's in. It's in as far as it's going to be installed for now. As I stated before, the bolts are in. I've shimmed it, but I don't have it really tight, like tight. The angle of it is going to be determined by the hardtop, and so I really don't want to have to fuss with it a whole lot over and over again, so we're just going to leave it for now. But what I am going to do is I'm going to start pre-assembling the side louvers, and I'm going to start pre-assembling all of the wind wings and sun visors. Now the sun visors will not go on with the hardtop. The sun visors can only be used when the hardtop is not in. Now that's not the case with Slytherin. Slytherin, the sun visors can be used at any time. The top mounts a completely different way because of the mounts that I made for that. So the sun visors are in Slytherin, and I use them when the top is on. Then again, I don't plan on ever taking the hardtop off of the car anyways. But with the APE hardtop, it appears as though the sun visors cannot be run with the top in place, and that's just the way it is, because you're using one of the clips for the sun visors as the means of holding the front of the top on. Michael got these louvers secondhand, and so they didn't come with the brackets. So I picked up some 3/4 inch angle. I cut some brackets. I've got 2 brackets for that one. I've got 2 brackets for this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this cardboard out, and I've already got my first pass of vinegaroon on the straps. So I think it needs to cook a little bit more to pick up all the pigment that we need to get these darker. So I'm just going to set these aside. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take a piece of probably tin foil, and I'm going to set them on top of the race ramps, and I am going to silicone these L brackets onto the sides of the louvers. So make sure you know which way these orient before you start going nuts with gluing these on, but basically something like that. They're going to glue on each side of the louver. Then what I'm going to do is I brought the sun visors and the wind wings down. I've got these in the box, and so I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to start putting all the hardware together for those. All right, so here you go. I don't think I explained the reason why I choose to do this on aluminum foil or tin foil. The reason is that it's thin enough that if the silicone that we've used to attach the brackets to the louvers, if it sticks to the aluminum, then it's easy to tear off. And then the part that it does stick, you can just go back with a razor blade and you can pull that that area that sticks off, or you can actually cut the clear silicone off in order to clean it up. And so that's why I do it this way. And the aluminum foil is cheap, and so you can just throw it away. You know, if I just did this on top of the race ramps, then I'd have to clean it all up later, and so this way it just makes it really easy to clean up. So I'm going to work on getting the wind wings and getting the sun visors all put together with their hardware. Kid Rock, ba with the ba. All right, the wind wings and the sun visors are done, but I'm not mounting them to the car yet. And that, as I said before, is because the windshield isn't in place yet, and so I don't want to mess things up. So I've got the breeze mirrors mounted to the inside portion of the wind wings, and I have the sun visors wrapped up, since even with the hard top in place, we're not going to be able to put the sun visors in, so I'm just going to store those for Michael. I'm going to just provide those to him with them in the trunk. And then while I was back here in the trunk, I went ahead and installed the cover over the fuel pump access. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for this one. We are going to continue working on Michael's car. However, I think I am going to slide the 25th anniversary car up on the lift. I want to work on getting the emergency brake modification that we've got figured out for the 25th anniversary car. I want to get that in place, because my hope is that in about 3 weeks, we're going to be sliding the engine and transmission in there, and I'd like to have the emergency brake all squared away. The only other things that I need to do before the engine goes in place is to run the last few wires down the transmission tunnel and get some of the accessories put on the front of that Gen 3 Coyote engine that's going in there, and it ought to be ready. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys all next time. If you're enjoying the content, as always, do the like, the share, the subscribe, comment if you'd like, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.